Hey, what's up, studs? Ryan here, or MandRproductions, with my review of the LEGO Star Wars Summer 2020 AT-AT. LEGO did send me this set for free to review, so big thank you to LEGO for doing that. This set includes 1,267 pieces with an official set number of 75288. The set retails in the United States for $160, and this set has received a lot of flack prior to release for that price point from people including myself, and we'll get into whether or not it's worth that 160 bucks. Should you wait for it to go on sale, or should you just skip this one altogether? Although I have said that I think this is the best AT-AT ever made. It's the most accurate one. It's got a lot of aspects about it that are just really on point to what you see in the films that may be worth an upgrade over a previous version, or maybe worth making this the first one you ever buy. So we'll get into that. But the box art has a pretty nice area of Hoth there. Always love seeing the physical AT-ATs as well. No snowspeeders flying around. Notably, with this set as well, no snowspeeder currently available. The 4+ version doesn't count. So they don't really have anything to go side by side with this as a set on the shelf. And it's really peculiar because they had the 20th anniversary snowspeeder and they retired it after just 8 months, knowing that this set was going to be coming out this summer. Just very surprising to me to see something like that happen. So right now, you can only pick up the AT-AT, and there is no snowspeeder to coincide with this thing. Very odd there. Backside of the box shows off the set all opened up there, kind of a bit of an awkward looking stance. Shows off all the features that we'll of course be looking at in this review. It should come as no surprise that unboxing this set is much like any other LEGO set. A couple of tape tabs and a bunch of bags inside. I'll save you the noise. Here's the innards of the box. 8 total numbered bags with the instruction manual and its own plastic sleeve. First up, we have what, in my opinion, is one of the better looking Luke Skywalkers ever made, and that comes with its release date in 2020 here. It should be one of the better looking Luke Skywalker figures ever made. This is another one without the quote-unquote newer style from summer 2018 helmet with the built-in visor. That seems to be 100% absolutely gone. It's never coming back, which I think is a good thing. I think a lot of people thought that that thing looked absolutely ridiculous, so I'm glad to see that they have pretty much put the nail in the coffin on that here. He's got a blue lightsaber and a thermal detonator in his opposite hand, and I think the torso design and the printing design is great. However, LEGO is having a little bit of a quality control issue here, because if you look at the torso and you compare the print to both the leg and the waist print, it is considerably less colorful. Like it's just missing a layer of the print. You can see it really especially with the tube that runs here. I took his lightsaber off to make it a little bit easier to see, but it's clearly a lot less bright than it is on the lower levels, and it's even more apparent in person how washed out the print on the top looks. So I don't know what's going on with that, but something is messed up LEGO quality control wise, and it's unfortunate to see. Hopefully they can get that figured out, but I would assume the entire first run of this set is going to be infected with a problem like that. The second face has his goggles up near his forehead where it just shows his eyes, so that's pretty neat. Let's move on. General Veers here, where the torso print looks to be much, much better than it was on the Luke Skywalker as far as the quality with the ink and everything. Whatever was going on with that doesn't seem to be too widespread, fortunately. He's got his binoculars in one hand, back print looking pretty spiffy. I really like the sand blue color they've got for his helmet, and it also really matches the print on his torso. Looks great. He's got a microphone printed onto his face there, and then the goggles up on his helmet, which look wonderful. In some previous versions of the set, they had the goggles on his face, and in this case, they are up on the visor. There's a pair of snowtroopers in the set. Pretty wonderful looking. I think the newer helmet mold looks fine. They don't have any backpacks on either of them. They're both exactly the same, other than the head underneath. But there's the face on the first character, and here's the face on the other character. From what I was looking at online, I believe these are faces being used from other characters, either from Harry Potter or Star Wars or something like that, but they are at least something different than the good old angry clone face that we have been seeing recently with LEGO Star Wars Snowtroopers and Stormtroopers and Clone Troopers. So it definitely is something a little bit different than what we had seen, which is fine. The AT-AT driver up next. Again, there are 2 in the set that are identical minus the head underneath, which we'll see in a moment. They come with the small blasters, and they, much like the Snowtroopers and General Veers and Luke Skywalker, I believe are probably the best looking version of their character that you can get at this point, and this one looks really good. I think they did a great job with him. A lot of sand blue, a lot of light gray. You can see no second face underneath there. It would be poking through real bad if they did have a second face, but it looks really good. It looks just like the AT-AT driver in the film here. If we remove the head, you can see there's the face on that one, and then the other one has a different face as well. And which, like I said before, I believe that these faces are kind of reused from other characters throughout LEGO, but it's much better than what we saw with like angry clone faces over and over and over again. So definitely an improvement in that way. The set has a very uniquely designed cannon and speeder for the snowtroopers. I think that these are great additions for the set. The cannon itself, again, very unique, nothing like we've really seen before. The speeder, kind of reminiscent of the 4+ speeder bike that we got for the snowtroopers, but still a much better build in my opinion than that one, at least for like someone like me that wants to display it, I guess. And it's pretty accurate. It's, again, fundamentally different than what you saw a lot in the past. You can still place a snowtrooper on top, and you can pilot the thing by grabbing the handlebars on either side like that. But yeah, it's a really nice design. They used the newer piece here at the front, much like we saw on the 501st Battle Pack speeder. Just a quick PSA here. For the rest of the review, I have this on backwards on the side panels, so ignore that. My bad. Although pointing it out probably isn't helping you for those of you who may have not seen it otherwise. But yeah, I apologize, but I'm not going to refilm the whole thing. But let's talk about why we're all here, to see the AT-AT. That's right, you're not spending $160 for the 6 minifigs or the little side builds. You want this thing. I don't even really know where to begin. I guess I'll talk about my building experience, and that was fantastic. It is much more well built than a lot of the other AT-ATs. It just really is. You can definitely tell that they put some love into the design of this. I think we'll start at one of the strongest points of this AT-AT, and that is the head. Well, more specifically, the neck and the joint between the head and the neck and the body of the set. This thing ain't falling off. Not falling off. You don't have to worry about that. This thing will flip over before this falls off. They have come up with an ingenious connection. It's never going to come apart unless you actually take it apart, and that's great. There have been massive problems with older AT-ATs with this, and they have finally solved that, and I am so grateful that this is not coming off. It's wonderful. I'm like so beyond thrilled about that. The design of the neck is questionable, but I can see that they really didn't have much more room for that. I don't know, I think that this looks a little bit awkward, but it is what it is. It's not that important, and it's one of those things you don't see as much. I love the range of motion it gives you. You can spin it pretty far, and it also has like 2 different joints, right? So there's this joint in here, you can see it moving about, and then there's this joint here with that blue pin, and I wish they had a different color pin. They need to really make those in gray. It would fit so well in so many places. Look, you can see more blue here on the side if they had those particular pieces in gray. I know there's a reason that they're blue and whatnot, but like, geez, they need to make one in gray. Just get it done. It does have this kind of weird centering action. So if I let go of it, it always does kind of want to come back to the center. And I think it's because of this kind of rubber piece that they have in there. But whatever the mechanism is, this whole center bar here does tend to want to recenter every time. And I'm sure that's an intended function and kind of a play feature to a degree that allows you to kind of move it and play with it and let it kind of swing around. I think that could be fun for kids. It keeps the head centered, but it also keeps it from, if you like bang into the set, right? Like it gives you some buffer, right? So if you were to hit this, you don't have to worry about, it's not like hitting the body where the whole thing's going to fall over. You hit this and it's, you know, just goes back and forth and then it recenters and it's fine. So that serves a couple purposes, and I think it's actually pretty great in that way. Inside the head of the AT-AT is kind of an interesting area. Like I said, this AT-AT is much more well built than previous models. You can not really have to worry about pushing this and breaking anything with it. It's like actually really sturdy. Unfortunately, the cost that kind of comes at is that you don't have as much ability to open everything. Like you can slightly adjust these. I guess you could just literally rip the whole thing off like I just did, but really like these aren't made to be adjusted like they were on previous models. So maybe just for ease of use and to show you guys a little bit better, that's what the interior looks like in there without everything kind of in the way. And there's enough space for both of your AT-AT pilots and General Veers. For the first time ever, they've actually made it possible to fit 3 figures in the head of the AT-AT, which is sweet. Like, that's actually a really neat thing to have. Again, something we've never had before, and there is all 3 of them in there. Pretty sweet looking in there, I must say. Like, I'm actually really impressed that they were able to make the space work. That being said, the space is very tight. You can see it kind of runs right up against the AT-AT pilot's head there, but it will all close up and be fine. But, you know, like, that is great. Like, it's something that we didn't have before. It's a major improvement from previous models that can only fit, you know, a figure or 2. And this one fits 3, albeit very tightly. It does technically fit 3. The rest of the head is generally pretty good looking. The cannons on the sides look great. Very simple build, sturdy. Like they're not going to fall off or anything. Like some previous models had real problems with that. Maybe my biggest gripe with the entire AT-AT in general is this face. It's kind of got a squinty look, which is fine, I guess, but a lot of people notice that it does look substantially squinty. Not like with other AT-ATs in the past, but I like this design, like this no stud showing front of the AT-AT face, but it is just such a departure from the design of the rest of the AT-AT. Like, it has no studs. Everything else has studs showing. So it just is a little bit jarring, and it makes it really pop out that this is so squinty looking and this is no tile. And they're both on the same spot on the AT-AT. I think that may be the biggest problem with this AT-AT for a lot of people. But there's some nice little, flick fire missile piece, not actual flick fire missiles though, cannons underneath the head. And then, of course, they got to work in some spring-loaded shooters there, so you can see the red there. You can actually just push in on it and it will fire off like a spring-loaded shooter would. Moving into the main body of the set, there are actually a few features packed into this, much more than in prior years. First off, I'll say that picking up the model is actually pretty easy. You don't have to worry about it. There's no handle. And what's actually ingenious about this is you would think you could pick this up, and you look at the way that these open. They open up and out. They don't just open up. Most notably, they open out too. And so when you hold it like this, you would think that this would like pull these up, or you'd have to worry about pulling these up. Because it has to open out and you're forcing it in when you grip it, you don't have to worry about it. So that's actually really, really smart there. It works out. Even though I would have loved a little carrying handle, looks better without a carrying handle, let's be honest. But yeah, the first feature is actually right here up under the front hood, basically. You can open these a little bit, but it's kind of pointless. They're just slightly angled in. And there's actually this little knob here in tan, and if I spin it down, you'll notice coming down from the bottom here is the grappling hook for Luke Skywalker to grab onto. That's something they have never had in an AT-AT like this built into the design. Really cool building technique. However, I must say I still hate the Lego Star Wars rope pieces. They are just the worst. I could cut this off here at the end. I usually do, but like they suck. They really suck. I hate tying the knots. I have no idea how to tie the knots and make it stay. If I pull on this really hard right now, it may very well come off and not go back on without me spending 20 minutes trying to tie a knot again. I don't know how kids do it. I can't imagine kids do it because I didn't do it as a kid. I would ask my parents to help me. So yeah, you have to tie a knot on this end, and then you also have to tie a knot on the other end in here on the mechanism for like the winch or whatever. Like, not very fun, but it is an incredibly fun play feature when you actually have it working. And here's Luke holding on to it. You can actually hoist him up by pushing back the other way on the knob, and he goes right on up to the AT-AT. Not quite as fast as I believe he does in the film, but he goes up here, and then we'll find another feature that's never been on an AT-AT before up under here. You may recall in episode 5, he actually cuts open the AT-AT, throws that thermal detonator he has in hand up into the AT-AT, and then it blows up. So it actually has a little hatch that kind of represents Luke cutting it open, throwing the thermal detonator in there, and then you can close it back up, but that obviously isn't what happens in the movie. The whole thing just blows up. But yeah, really neat little detail on this set that is just not present on any of the other past models. On the back end of the AT-AT, there's another great feature. You can open up the top, drop down the back, and you may notice some like sliding tiles and whatnot. You're going to actually be able to take your speeder bike and fit it right on into the back of the AT-AT, and there's ample space in there for it to slide on in. And then we're actually going to be able to close everything up just like so afterwards. Very nice and clean feature. Looking to the actual largest section of the interior of the AT-AT, you can open up the panels on both sides. Like I mentioned earlier, they open out then up. We're going to open up the one on the other side just so we get a little bit better lighting in there so you can kind of see everything that's going on. And this AT-AT is actually the best interior I think I've ever seen on one. It has the most accurate color scheme with the sand blue seating, which is great, looks wonderful. We actually have a little spot here for our big blaster, and you can actually just place, you can see this like open hole stud at the bottom there, place it on that rod, and just like that, you are set to go. It's in place. You can kind of close it back up, and it's not going to be in the way or anything. It's in a really nice place for storage. It's actually a really tall space as well, so that's why it's actually able to fit, because it is a rather long weapon, but luckily enough, it's tall enough to actually accommodate that. Now, you can see snowtroopers in the seats, no question. Unfortunately, they don't include enough troopers to actually fill all the seats, so we'll put one snowtrooper on that side. If we flip the set around, there are 3 more seats on the other side, and like I said, unfortunately, just not enough troopers to fill out the seats. Hopefully, in 2021, they could release like a battle pack or something that would help you fill out your extra seats, but as of now, you're just left with a lot of empty seats, and there's no real set out there that's going to give you enough snowtroopers to fill out this space. Closing the doors is just as easy as opening them, 1 and 2, just like that. And let's talk about the design of the legs and everything and how sturdy those are. I'd like to say that the design of this is beautiful, like much better than in years past. They've really, really worked on stuff like that. And also like the armor plating on the inside of the leg here is wonderful. Great building technique for that. You can see that on both sides. Just the armor plating on the inside is so so clean there. Much better again than in years past. Still seeing some of that blue, which kind of sucks. Like, I wish they had those pieces in gray or put those pieces in gray in this set, because it would really help complete the look in a way that they've yet to do with a set like this. It's really unfortunate to see stuff like that still being a problem that kind of plagues LEGO in a way, because they want to stick with this system that they've created for these Technic pins having different colors depending on how strong their connection is. Like, at some point, I feel like you got to give a little bit of that up to add a little bit of detail to something like this and make it just better, okay? But as far as leg posing goes, and the actual design of legs is wonderful as well. I know a lot of people have said they look skinny. I mean, they aren't any skinnier, I would say, than legs from years past. Just like the legs are not that skinny. I'll tell you what's skinny in a moment, though, is the whole body of the thing. But like, the legs aren't that skinny. I think they're fine. They also have all 4 toes. I think older AT-ATs have not had all 4 toes except for the motorized one. So that's a nice change that you get with this one over some of the previous models as far as the feet go. But yeah, very nice plating in general on the outside. A lot of light gray. A lot of the older models had more dark gray kind of mixed in with a lot of this, and this one just doesn't have that. I think that's a pro, because AT-ATs are predominantly light gray in my opinion. Like, from what I can remember seeing in movies, like, it's not like there's just giant blobs of dark gray on the legs. I feel like that they've really nailed the coloring as best they can on this, again, bar that blue that you kind of see peeking through. But it is what it is. Fun building techniques as far as like building legs. It's a little bit repetitive, but again, like, I see people complain about repetitive builds. I don't get it. Like, you know what you're getting into. You know there's 4 legs. You know you're going to have to build 4 legs. Like, what's the big deal? You built 4 legs, right? If you hate repetitive builds, don't buy this, but like, you should know what you're getting into, I feel like. Anyway, leg posing. So the typical leg pose for AT-ATs is like, you know, 1 forward, and that works great here. It looks nice like this. I wouldn't say that this is like its best look though, for some reason. This is what I would usually put my AT-ATs in, but I don't know why this one just isn't vibing with this look. To me, usually you're just going to put it in one stance anyway and just leave it standing. And to me, like, for whatever reason, the best look for this one is just like tall. And that's, I think, because of how skinny it is. It is a skinnier model than AT-ATs in years past. And I don't know how well it picks up on camera, but I noticed it immediately. Like, it is a skinnier model. Basically, all the other models are at least like 1 plate wider, and these plates in the front have a little bit more of a curve into them than they do on this set. This set's relatively straight and flat here on the sides, and I find that to be really fascinating, just comparing it to the older models. I'll have a comparison video linked below when available, but it's definitely way different in that way. And if you're looking for an AT-AT that's different, this one is different. This is the most accurate AT-AT to date. It's just really, really good in a lot of ways. It is skinnier, like I mentioned, and that skinniness is to a degree accurate. I still think a little bit thicker would be better, because if I looked at some pictures and it looks like some of this is supposed to hang out and over a little bit more in some ways, but in general, this is definitely more accurate than AT-ATs we've had in years past. So if you want the most accurate AT-AT, the strongest AT-AT is see, I hit usually the neck would fall off, but in this case, it literally just bent the legs. Like, that's pretty uncommon for AT-ATs. So like, really strong and sturdy design in a lot of ways. There are some things I don't understand, like the gaps here. They could have used literally the same pieces they use here. Like, they've been using the same technique for years. They changed it. Now there's gaps. So I don't really know what was going on with that in the front and the back there, but that definitely is one small thing that I'm not a huge fan of. But everything else on this set I pretty much like. Even the minifigs, even though that Luke Skywalker is pretty rough with the print, everything else about it is great. All the other characters very nice. Nice speeder and weapon to go along with it. And I really love the fact that everything fits in, or in Luke's case, can attach to the AT-AT at one time. So you don't have to worry about losing things, I think. Like, you can basically store it all up at once and you're gonna be good. Overall, to me, this is an 8.5 out of 10 set. Really, really nice. Kind of expensive, 160 bucks. Is it ultimately worth that price? I don't really know. I mean, I think compared to some other sets at the price, I think it's pretty fair. Like, you look at like the Millennium Falcon and such at the same price, like, that's a pretty even set here. And I think that you could make the case that this is better than that. I think you could also make the case that the Millennium Falcon is better than that for 160 bucks. Maybe a comparison is in order for that type of thing. But at the end of the day, if you want an AT-AT, this is going to be the cheapest way to get a brand new one in today's day and age. None of the older sets are going to be selling for under 160 new in box. And if you ever see this set on sale, maybe that's the time to strike as well. It's a set that when it came out, or when the pictures came out, I should say, I thought I might want to buy 3. I don't know if that's the case still or not. I don't know if I can just get past how skinny it is comparatively to the other AT-ATs. Not even that it's a bad thing that it's skinny. It just is, compared to the other AT-ATs, it just is skinny, okay? My final word of advice with this set is that if you were thinking about getting this set, and you had 160 bucks to spend this summer, and that was it. It's basically between this or the Razor Crest and maybe a File First Battle Pack with the Razor Crest. I would go with the File First Battle Pack and Razor Crest over this AT-AT. Maybe that'll help you make your decision if that was something you were considering. But yeah, I think that sets like the Razor Crest are going to be better than this. If you already own an AT-AT, buy the Razor Crest type of deal. Like, you shouldn't just get this one, I think. I think the other ones are adequate. Although this one, if you're a first-time AT-AT owner, not bad. If you're a big LEGO Star Wars collector like myself and you like owning everything, not bad either. But if you already own an AT-AT and you're like on the fence, I don't see a reason really to jump in on this one. Just get something else that's cooler and newer, like the Razor Crest. So let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, like is always appreciated. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.